The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council floated above the surface of the neutral world, Prime. It was a structure so vast that it could fit several of Earth's largest cities inside its chambers. The ceiling was carved from crystal and shimmered with starlight, while the floor was alive with holographic maps of galaxies, shifting and moving as if the stars themselves were alive. Inside this hall sat the rulers and envoys of hundreds of species. They came in many forms, scaled, furred, feathered, or made of strange energy, but they all carried themselves with the pride of ancient civilizations. For them, meetings of the council were more than discussions. They were rituals of power, where decisions shaped the galaxy itself. And today, the topic was humanity. The chief speaker, an ancient being named Zerath of the luminous kindred, raised his long, translucent hand. His voice was calm but heavy, carrying through the hall like the sound of a great river. We gather to speak of the new race that has stepped beyond their homeworld. The species calls itself humanity. They are young, far younger than any of us, but they rise with a speed that cannot be ignored. A ripple of murmurs passed through the chamber. Some envoys tilted their heads in curiosity, others rolled their eyes, and a few released laughter that echoed against the shining walls. From the far corner, Ambassador Threx of the Grail Dominion, a reptilian race, hissed with amusement. Why waste words on such weak creatures? I have studied their bodies. Their bones break easily. Their lifespan is short. Their ships are crude, their fleets laughable. His words drew agreement from several others. A tall avian envoy shook her bright feathers and added, "They stumble into space like children who have stolen a tool they cannot use." What threat could they be to us? Yet not all shared the same view. Ilarion of the Asteri, a species of tall, luminous beings, leaned forward. His glowing eyes narrowed as he spoke with quiet intensity. "You mock them because you do not see what I see. They are different. No species in Council history has advanced so quickly. In less than 3 centuries, they moved from primitive fire to nuclear power, from fragile machines to starships that pierce the void." The laughter grew louder, but the Ilarion did not stop. "I have studied their wars. I have studied their history. When they are pressed, they do not fall. They adapt, they endure. And when they are cornered, they strike with a fury that should not exist in such fragile bodies." Another voice rose, deep and commanding. It was Counselor Vela of the Korath, a massive armored being whose kind had once ruled great empires. "I remember when my people fought our first wars with iron blades. It took us 5,000 years to reach the stars. 5,000 years of blood and struggle. The humans did it in only a fraction of that time. Tell me, what do you think they will achieve in another 1,000 years? The hall grew quiet for a moment. Even those who mocked began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. But pride is a dangerous thing, and most envoys were unwilling to admit fear of such a young race. Ambassador Threx sneered. "You speak as if they are gods, but they are not. I have seen their colonies, small weak settlements clinging to barren rocks. They trade scraps of metal as if they were treasures. They are nothing." Chief Speaker Zerath raised his hand again. His translucent form shimmered with a strange light, silencing the debate. "Perhaps they are nothing now. But the Council does not judge what a species is. The Council must judge what a species can become. That is why I bring this warning today. I say to you all, do not provoke them. Do not treat them as slaves or pawns, for if you do, you may awaken something none of us wish to face." The silence was heavy after his words. The maps of the galaxies beneath their feet shifted, and among the stars a small blue world glowed brighter than the rest, Earth. But the silence did not last. A group of envoys erupted into laughter, pounding their seats and flapping wings or tails. One shouted, "They are barely out of their cradle." Another, "What could such a small race do against the empires of the stars?" The hall became a storm of mocking voices. The warning, though spoken with wisdom, was drowned in arrogance. Yet in a shadowed alcove far from the noise sat the human observer. His name was Ambassador David Hale, one of the first humans ever allowed to sit in the council chamber. He was young compared to the other envoys, dressed simply in a dark suit rather than shining armor or flowing robes. His face revealed little emotion as he listened to the laughter, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. He knew. Humanity knew. The Council's warning was not for the humans. It was for the others. And those others were not listening. As the session ended, groups of envoys left the chamber, still laughing and exchanging jokes about Earth and its fragile children. Ambassador Hale remained behind for a moment, staring at the glowing hologram of his world. He thought of his ancestors, those who had fought wars, crossed oceans, endured famine and storms, and still survived. He thought of the rockets that once rose from small launch pads carrying men and women into the unknown. He thought of the silent determination in the eyes of his people, and he whispered quietly to himself, "They will learn. One way or another, they will learn." The echo of history, the Council's warning spread across the stars, carried through channels of diplomacy and rumor. Some races dismissed it immediately, laughing at the thought of humans being dangerous. Others grew curious and sent spies hoping to uncover secrets hidden on the blue planet. A few wise leaders, however, began to watch carefully, remembering that every empire once began as something small and underestimated. In the markets of the galactic core, merchants mocked human goods, calling them child toys and primitive scrap. In the military academies of proud species, cadets laughed as they studied human battles, calling them chaotic and clumsy. But beneath the laughter, a quiet unease grew, because every report, every story, every small encounter painted a strange picture. Humans did not give up. They lost battles, but they returned stronger. They faced disasters, but they rebuilt faster than logic suggested. They were fragile, but their spirits were unbreakable. The Council had warned them, but no one truly listened. By the time the Council Hall closed its doors, the decision was already made, not by vote, but by pride. The galaxy had chosen to ignore the warning. The galaxy had chosen to laugh, and somewhere across the stars humanity was listening too. Humanity was preparing. The days after the Council's warning were filled with whispers, laughter, and bold claims across the galaxy. While some envoys returned home with unease in their hearts, the majority carried only amusement. To them, humanity was still a fragile newcomer, a race unworthy of respect. On the trade world of Vorlax, the markets were alive with noise and color. Stalls of metal, crystal, and living goods filled the air with scents both sweet and foul. Here, merchants from a dozen empires gathered to exchange treasures. Among them, a group of traders from the Krell Dominion displayed a small human-made communicator. Its frame was plain, its circuits rough compared to the elegant technology around it. The Krell trader lifted the device high and shouted with a sharp laugh, "Behold the tool of humans! Crude wires, cheap casing, and functions no child of the stars would ever use." The crowd erupted into laughter. One merchant tossed a coin of bright silver, mocking, "I'll pay more for the joke than for the device itself." Another, covered in feathers, added, "Perhaps we should send these humans back to their caves. Clearly they still belong there." But not all laughed. A small insectoid scholar in the corner studied the communicator carefully. She clicked her mandibles and whispered to herself, "Strange. It may be simple, but it is efficient. Built with limited resources, yet it works." Her words went unheard, drowned beneath waves of mockery. The pattern was the same across countless worlds. Humans were seen as weak, yet amusing. Their goods became objects of ridicule. Their colonies were described as fragile nests. Their fleets were called toy armadas, small tests while the merchants laughed. The rulers of great empires decided to test the humans more directly. The Drathan Empire, a race of scaled warlords, sent raiders to a small human mining colony near the edge of explored space. The colony was new, built on a barren moon with little more than machines and a few hundred settlers. The Drathan expected the humans to flee at the first sight of their warships, but when the raiders arrived, the humans fought back. They had no mighty fleets, only armed mining vessels and improvised defenses, yet they resisted fiercely. They hid their families in caves, armed themselves with converted drills, and turned mining lasers into crude weapons. The Drathan laughed at first, until several of their ships were destroyed by human traps hidden beneath the moon's surface. The battle ended with the colony scarred but standing. The Drathan commander returned home in anger, reporting, "They are stubborn vermin. They do not understand surrender." But the report was ignored. The Drathan nobles found it humorous that such a weak colony had delayed them at all. "Let them resist," one noble scoffed. "It only makes their eventual defeat more entertaining." The council observers, in the council chambers, a handful of wise envoys kept watch. Ilarion of the Asteri, who had warned the others, read every report with growing concern. He saw the pattern. The humans were tested again and again. Each time they adapted. Each time they learned. When their trade convoys were cheated, they quickly changed their contracts to protect themselves. When their colonies were raided, they built stronger defenses from the ruins. When their diplomats were mocked, they studied alien languages and cultures more carefully, returning with sharper words. Ilarion tried once more to speak at a smaller council meeting. You are blind. They turn every insult into fuel. They do not break, they sharpen. But his words again met laughter. You see storms and clouds that never rain, said one. The humans are amusing, nothing more, said another. The warnings were lost once again. Humanity watches. Meanwhile, on Earth and its colonies, the humans were not blind to what was happening. They saw the mockery. They felt the sting of betrayal in trade and the pain of raids. But instead of despair, they turned it into determination. At the Earth Council chambers in Geneva, leaders from across the world gathered. Screens glowed with images of alien fleets, alien markets, and alien laughter. Ambassador David Hale stood before them. His voice was calm, but his eyes carried the fire of his people. They do not respect us. They test us, they mock us, they think we are nothing. But we are not nothing. We are human, we will learn, we will endure, and one day we will make them see. The room erupted in agreement. Generals, scientists, and leaders nodded. They had been underestimated many times before in their own history, and each time humanity had risen stronger, so they began to prepare quietly. Engineers studied alien wreckage, taking apart every piece of technology they could find. Scientists pushed the limits of human invention, blending alien knowledge with their own. Soldiers trained not for peace but for survival, learning tactics that could confuse and outsmart larger fleets. Colonists built deeper shelters, stronger defenses, and hidden weapons. Every insult, every loss, every betrayal was turned into a lesson. Mockery in the academies far from Earth. In the great academies of alien empires, human history became a subject of humor. Cadets of the Avori Empire sat in their shining halls, watching recordings of human wars. On one screen they saw the trenches of the First World War, filled with mud and suffering. The cadets laughed. They crawled in the dirt like animals. On another screen they saw the burning cities of the Second World War. More laughter. They destroyed themselves before they even reached the stars. But the instructor, an older Avori general, did not laugh. He studied the recordings in silence. Then he spoke. Yes, they suffered. Yes, they fought like animals. But look closer. They endured. No matter the loss, they rebuilt. No matter the fire, they rose again. Remember this lesson, for the Council's words were true. These humans are not to be mocked lightly. The cadets quieted, though most still smirked. They believed the old general was speaking only out of caution, not truth. Quiet resolve back on Earth. Ambassador Hale visited a human shipyard orbiting Mars. He walked among the workers, who toiled night and day on ships that looked small compared to alien cruisers. One worker, wiping sweat from his brow, asked, "Do they really laugh at us, sir?" Hale nodded slowly. "Yes, they laugh because they think we are weak." The worker smiled faintly, his hands stained with oil. "Then let them laugh. One day their laughter will turn to silence." Hale placed a hand on the worker's shoulder and answered quietly, "Yes. One day, it will." The pattern of underestimation across the galaxy, reports continued to spread. Every encounter with humans ended the same way. They were underestimated. They were mocked. They resisted. They learned. Some alien leaders began to grow uneasy. A few sent secret envoys to study humanity more closely. What they found unsettled them even more. Humans did not measure time like the ancient empires. They did not move slowly. They built, invented, and advanced with a speed that was almost unnatural. Each year brought progress. Each defeat brought new strength. The Council's warning, ignored by most, was quietly proving true. The rising whisper, in the halls of power, laughter still echoed. But beneath the laughter, whispers began to rise. Have you noticed how quickly the humans recover? Their colonies were attacked, yet they are stronger now. Their fleets are still small, but their designs are changing fast. And somewhere deep in the galactic core, a shadowed voice muttered the words that had once been mocked. Perhaps the council was right. Humanity continued forward, silent and determined. They did not shout. They did not boast. They only prepared. The galaxy had mocked them. The galaxy had tested them. But the galaxy had not listened, and soon the galaxy would learn the price of its arrogance. The laughter of the stars could not last forever. For all their pride, alien empires were not blind to opportunity. Humanity was expanding quickly, and with expansion came resources, minerals, gas, water, and energy. To the old powers, these colonies looked like fruit hanging low, waiting to be plucked. The Varkon Syndicate, a coalition of powerful merchant lords, was the first to act. Their fleets moved quietly, armed not only with weapons but with greed. They targeted New Horizon, a young human colony orbiting a rocky planet. The settlement had only existed for 20 years, with a population barely above 30,000. Its defenses were thin, little more than a few patrol ships and orbital satellites. The Varkon commanders believed it would be simple. They would strike fast, seize the mines, and force the humans to pay tribute. They imagined it would be over in a day, but the day did not go as planned. The first raid, when the Syndicate fleet entered orbit, the humans refused to surrender. Governor Maria Cade, leader of New Horizon, stood before her people in the central dome. Her voice echoed through the colony's speakers. They think we will kneel. They think we will give them what we built with our hands. But this is our home. If we fall fighting. If we live free. The people cheered, not with fear but with resolve. Miners took up rifles. Engineers turned construction drones into makeshift weapons. Farmers filled fuel tanks with fire and sealed doors into traps. Every street became a barricade. The Syndicate's ships bombarded the outer defenses, expecting panic. Instead, hidden cannons, disguised as mining towers, fired back. Syndicate fighters swarmed the skies, only to be ambushed by human patrols using clever maneuvers. A few small ships darted through asteroid fields, striking with precision before vanishing. The Syndicate lost more ships than they expected. Their commander, furious, ordered a full retreat. New Horizon still stood. The report of failure. When word of the raid reached the Varkon High Council, the merchant lords were enraged. But rather than see danger, they saw insult. How dare these fragile creatures resist us? One shouted. We are the Syndicate. They should fear our fleets. The council dismissed the losses as a mistake, a fluke. They planned a larger assault for the future. Yet across the galaxy, whispers spread. Humans had stood against one of the great trading empires and survived. Others joined the hunt. The Syndicate's failure only encouraged other powers. The Drathan Empire, still smarting from its earlier defeat on the mining moon, saw a chance to reclaim honor. They launched attacks on small outposts along the rim. At the same time, the Volari clans, proud warriors of the Spiral Arms, sent fleets to test human resolve. To them, battle was a sport, and humanity was a new opponent. Colonies burned. Supply convoys vanished. Human ships were ambushed, but each time the humans fought back. They never surrendered. They never begged. Even when their fleets were shattered, survivors regrouped and struck again. The aliens laughed at first, but their laughter grew thinner with each battle. The council watches. In the great chamber of the Galactic Council, envoys debated the rising tension. Alarian of the Asteri stood once more. His glowing eyes burned as he addressed the hall. You see the pattern, yet you deny it. The Syndicate tried to enslave them and failed. The Drathan sought to crush them and were humiliated. The Volari play their games, and still the humans endure. How many more warnings must we see? But again, many mocked him. Ambassador Threx of the Grell Dominion hissed with scorn. They are gnats. Let them sting for a while. In time, they will be crushed beneath the heel of true power. The hall erupted into arguments, but no decision was reached. The council's warnings were drowned in pride. The human response on Earth, the situation was dire but unbroken. The attacks had taken lives, but the spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. In the underground war rooms of Geneva, generals and scientists gathered around glowing maps. They tracked every raid, every loss, every victory. Patterns emerged. General Adrian Cole, a veteran with sharp eyes, spoke firmly. They think we are weak because we are small. But small does not mean helpless. We cannot match them in numbers. We cannot match them in size. But we can match them in will and in cunning. He proposed a new strategy. Asymmetrical warfare. Humans would not meet alien fleets in open battle. Instead, they would strike where least expected, raiding supply lines, disrupting trade, and setting ambushes in asteroid belts. The plan was approved. Soon small human squadrons, often outnumbered, began striking with clever traps. They planted mines inside nebulae. They feigned retreat, then circled back to strike from behind. They used knowledge of terrain that others ignored. Every time the aliens thought victory was certain, humans turned the tables. The Battle of Darren's Rift One battle became legendary across human space. A Volari fleet pursued a small human convoy into Darren's Rift, a region of space filled with unstable asteroids and shifting magnetic storms. The Volari laughed, certain the humans were trapped. But the convoy was bait. Hidden among the asteroids were human strikecraft waiting in silence. When the Volari entered the rift, the humans triggered charges that shattered the rocks. Asteroids rained down, tearing ships apart. The Volari, confused and trapped, were hunted by human fighters weaving through the chaos. By the time the storm cleared, the once proud fleet was gone. The galaxy heard the story. And for the first time, the laughter carried an edge of fear. Fear spreads whispers, moved faster than ships. The humans are unpredictable. They fight like no one else. They turn every defeat into strength. Merchants who once mocked human goods began to trade with caution. Commanders who once laughed at human fleets now studied their tactics carefully. The image of humanity as a weak, fragile race began to crumble. Still, pride blinded many. The great powers refused to admit they were losing control. Instead, they prepared larger forces. If small raids could not break humanity, then overwhelming numbers would. Humanity's resolve in the colonies, hope and pride grew. Survivors told stories of battles where miners defeated soldiers, where farmers destroyed warships, where children carried supplies through fire and smoke. Governor Maria Cade of New Horizons spoke again to her people. They came to take what was ours. They thought us weak, but we are still here. We are human, and we will not be broken. Her words spread across the network of colonies, becoming a rallying cry. We are human. We will not be broken. The rising tension by now, the galaxy was divided. Some still mocked humans, believing their victories were luck. Others grew cautious, realizing the Council's warning was coming true. The Syndicate, the Drathan, and the Volari decided on a bold move. They would not act alone. They would form a coalition, a united strike to crush humanity once and for all. They gathered fleets larger than anything the humans had ever faced. Armadas filled with gleaming ships, weapons that had burned empires, and commanders who believed victory was certain. The Council observed in silence. Some envoys whispered that this was madness. Others said it was necessary. Ambassador Hale of Earth, standing at the edge of the chamber, remained silent, but his eyes held steady fire. He knew what was coming. The calm before the storm across human space, preparations began. Shipyards worked day and night. Scientists released new designs, blending alien technology with human creativity. Soldiers trained harder than ever, knowing they would soon face overwhelming numbers. General Cole stood before his fleet in orbit above Earth. The ships were smaller than the enemy's, but each crew was ready. They come with arrogance. They come with pride. But they forget who we are. We are the children of Earth. We have fought every war, every storm, every disaster. We do not run. We do not surrender. When the storm comes, we will stand, and we will endure. The crews answered with a roar that carried across the comms. The sparks had become a fire, and soon the fire would blaze into war. The galaxy had laughed. The galaxy had mocked. But now the galaxy began to fear, for the sparks of conflict had been lit, and humanity, once underestimated, was ready to turn those sparks into flames. The galaxy was restless. For months, whispers had carried stories of human defiance. Small fleets defeating larger ones, colonies standing against impossible odds, and raids that turned into traps. What had once been laughter was now unease, yet pride is a powerful chain. The great powers of the stars, the Varkon Syndicate, the Drathan Empire, and the Volari clans, refused to accept humiliation. Each had tested humanity and failed. Each had seen its fleets bloodied. But instead of caution, they chose fury. In secret meetings lit by holographic fire, the leaders of these powers gathered. Around a vast map of the galaxy, their voices thundered. We strike together. said Lord Carvos of the Drathan, his scaled fists slamming the table. "Their colonies are few. Their fleets are small. Together our power will drown them." The Volari warlord laughed, his teeth sharp as blades. "Yes, enough of games. We will crush their spirit. No traps, no escapes. This time they will face the storm head-on." The merchant lords of the syndicate agreed, their eyes gleaming with greed. "Their resources will feed our markets. Their worlds will be ours, and their defiance will be a lesson to all who resist." So the coalition was born, an armada unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The Armada. The coalition gathered fleets from 3 empires, hundreds of warships assembled near the edge of known space. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. Their hulls stretched like mountains across the void. From carriers to dreadnoughts, the Armada filled the stars. It was a sight designed to inspire fear, to remind lesser races of the old truth. No one defies the great powers, but humanity did not tremble. Humanity prepares on Earth and her colonies. Word of the Armada spread like wildfire. Fear was there, yes, but it did not rule the people. Instead, determination grew. In the underground chambers of Geneva, General Adrian Cole stood before a wall of screens. Each displayed fleets, colonies, and supply lines. Around him, commanders and scientists worked without rest. "They come with numbers," Cole said, his voice steady. "But numbers are not everything. We will not fight them in their way. We will fight them in ours." He revealed humanity's hidden strength. For years, engineers had studied alien wreckage, salvaged from battles and raids. Quietly, they had combined alien designs with human ingenuity. The result was something new. The first fusion warships were unveiled, sleek vessels armed with railguns, plasma lances, and stealth systems that baffled sensors. Their hulls were not large, but they were tough, built with alloys forged from both human and alien technology. Beside them, carriers launched swarms of small, fast strike craft. These fighters were human-made, designed for daring pilots who could turn battles with speed and instinct. For the first time, humanity had ships not just to survive, but to win. The calm before battle, the Coalition Armada advanced towards Sigma Prime, a major human colony rich in resources. The aliens believed it would fall quickly. They had no idea what awaited them. On Sigma Prime, Governor Maria Cade addressed her people once more. Her voice carried across the networks to every home, every bunker, every ship. "They come again, stronger than before. They believe this is the end. But we know better. This is not our end, it is our beginning. Stand firm, stand proud. We are human, and we will endure." In orbit, fleets gathered. General Cole commanded from the flagship Resolute, its hull gleaming with human determination. Ambassador David Hale was also aboard, representing Earth's voice. He stood silently on the bridge, watching the stars. Cole turned to him. "You spoke once in the council, and they laughed. After today, they will no longer laugh." Hale nodded slowly. "After today, they will listen." The Battle of Sigma Prime. When the Coalition arrived, the stars seemed to darken under their might. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded Sigma Prime, their weapons charging, their commanders confident of swift victory. The Drathan general broadcast a message across all channels. "Humans of Sigma Prime, surrender and live. Resist and we will erase you." General Cole answered calmly. "We do not surrender. We do not break. We are human." The battle began. The Coalition unleashed a storm of firepower, plasma beams cutting through space, missiles streaking like comets. Human defenses shook, shields flared, and explosions lit the void. But then the human plan unfolded. Small squadrons darted through the storm, using stealth to slip past sensors. They struck at weak points, engines, weapon arrays, fuel lines. Explosions rippled through the Coalition's front lines. Hidden mines detonated among the enemy fleet placed weeks earlier by human scouts. Asteroids rigged with thrusters suddenly moved, crashing into ships in scattering formations. The Coalition, used to straightforward battles of power, found themselves fighting chaos. The humans turned every weakness into a trap. On the Resolute, Cole gave orders with sharp precision. "Squadron Delta, strike their carriers. Gamma, draw them into the rift. Alpha, stay with me. We break their center." Human pilots fought like demons, weaving through fire, taking risks no alien would dare. Some fell, but their sacrifice tore holes in the enemy fleet, the turning point. The Valari warlord laughed as his ships pressed forward. But his laughter ended when human fighters swarmed his flagship, slipping past shields and disabling key systems. His ship, once a symbol of fear, broke apart in flames. The Syndicate's merchant lords screamed as their prized dreadnoughts fell to human ambushes. Profit meant nothing when their fleets crumbled. Lord Carvos of the Drathan roared in fury, ordering his ships to charge blindly. But this was his downfall. The humans had prepared for it. They lured the Drathan into a nebula filled with ion storms. Human ships, shielded against the interference, struck with precision, while Drathan sensors went blind. Ship after ship was torn apart. By the time the nebula cleared, the once mighty Drathan fleet was gone. The Coalition armada, confident of easy victory, was shattered. Humanity had turned the tide. The Galaxy React's news of the battle spread faster than light through networks and messengers. Entire species froze in shock. The Coalition had brought overwhelming power and lost. The whispers grew louder. The humans defeated 3 empires at once. Their ships are not weak anymore. The Council's warning was true. Merchants who once mocked human goods now sought trade. Military leaders who once dismissed humans began to study their tactics with fear. Children on distant worlds whispered stories of the humans who would not break. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as prey, not as amusement, but as a rising power. The Council speaks again. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, silence filled the chamber. The envoys who once laughed now shifted uneasily. The chief speaker Zarath rose once more. His voice was calm but firm. "We warned you. We told you humanity must not be underestimated. You mocked us, and now the galaxy trembles. Humanity has shown what they are. They endure. They adapt, and when pressed they are fire." No one laughed. Not this time. Ambassador Hale stood and spoke for Earth. His voice carried not arrogance but steady resolve. "We never asked for this war. We only asked to live, to build, to grow. You saw weakness, but you never saw our strength. Now you have, and now you know." The chamber remained silent, the weight of his words echoing like thunder. Aftermath on Sigma Prime. Survivors rebuilt. Ships returned scarred but victorious. Families wept for the fallen, but their tears were not of despair, they were of pride. Humanity had faced the storm and survived. General Cole stood aboard the Resolute, staring at the stars. "This is not the end," he said quietly. "They will come again. But now they know who we are." Governor Maria Cade, addressing her people, spoke words that spread across all colonies. "They thought us weak. They thought us small. But we are still here. We are human. And we will never kneel." Her words became more than a speech, they became a vow. The Battle of Sigma Prime was the turning point. The Coalition had tried to break humanity and failed. The galaxy had ignored the Council's warning, and now it had paid the price. The laughter of the stars was gone. In its place was silence and fear, for humanity had risen and the galaxy would never be the same. The smoke of battle had faded, but its echoes still traveled across the galaxy. The Battle of Sigma Prime had changed everything. 3 mighty empires had united, bringing an armada larger than anything humanity had faced, yet they had failed. Their fleets were shattered, their pride broken, and their leaders forced to retreat. For humanity, it was both a victory and a warning. They had won, yes, but at a cost. Ships lay in ruins. Brave men and women had given their lives. Colonies mourned their fallen. Still, beneath the grief was something stronger: pride. Humanity had faced the impossible and stood tall, but the galaxy was watching. And what it saw filled it with fear. Whispers in the stars on distant worlds, traders gathered in hushed tones. Merchants who once dismissed human goods now spoke of new opportunities. Military commanders on alien worlds studied human battle records with wide eyes, realizing the old strategies would no longer work. Some species were curious. They are so young. How did they defeat 3 empires? They adapt faster than anyone we have ever seen. Others were afraid. If they can win now, what will they be in a century? Perhaps the humans are not just another race. Perhaps they are something more. And for the first time in history, entire star systems that had never cared about Earth now knew its name. The Council convenes again. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the atmosphere was tense. No one mocked, no one sneered. The memory of laughter at humanity's expense now burned with shame. Zerath, the chief speaker, rose once more. His long cloak shimmered as he addressed the hall. For cycles uncounted, we told you the truth. We warned you. Humanity must not be underestimated. You did not listen. And now your fleets are ashes, your pride broken. The envoys of the coalition bowed their heads. The Valari seat stood empty. Their warlord had perished. The syndicate envoys remained silent, their wealth lost. Lord Carvos of the Drathan sat stiff, his pride gone but his fury still burning. Into this silence walked Ambassador David Hale. He stood in the center of the chamber, his figure small among towering aliens, yet all eyes were on him. His voice was calm but unyielding. We did not ask for this war. We only asked to live, to grow, to take our place among the stars. You saw weakness. You mocked. You attacked. And you paid the price. Humanity will not kneel, not now, not ever. The chamber remained silent, the words echoing like thunder. Finally, Zerath turned to the gathered leaders. Let this be a lesson. Humanity is not prey. They are not weak. They are a force, one that endures, one that fights, one that rises. From this day, those who provoke them will know the fire they awaken. No one laughed. Not this time. Aftermath on Sigma Prime on. Sigma Prime, life returned slowly. Cities scarred by fire began to rebuild. Families mourned their dead, but their grief was mixed with pride. Children walked through the streets holding flags, their voices chanting, "We are human! We are strong!" Governor Maria Cade addressed her people from the steps of the Central Dome. Her words spread not only across Sigma Prime but across every colony and Earth itself. The galaxy thought us weak. They thought we would bow. But we stood and we endured. This victory is not just ours, it belongs to every human, every farmer who worked the soil, every miner who dug the rock, every pilot who took to the stars. Together, we have shown who we are. Her speech was replayed across countless networks. On Earth, billions watched and cheered. In colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan, her words became a vow. Humanity would never again be underestimated. General Cole's vision aboard the flagship Resolute. General Adrian Cole stood at the observation deck, gazing at the stars. His uniform was scarred from battle, his face marked with fatigue, but his eyes burned with determination. His staff asked what came next. Do we wait for the next attack? Do we strike first? Cole shook his head. No, we prepare. The galaxy knows our strength now, but strength must be guarded. They will come again, if not tomorrow, then in years. When they do, we must be ready. Humanity must never be caught unprepared again. His words became the seed of a plan. Humanity began building the Sentinel program, a defense network spanning across colonies, stations armed with powerful cannons, fleets trained not just to defend but to strike with precision. Scouts spread into the dark, learning, mapping, and preparing. Humanity would no longer simply survive. Humanity would rise, the fear of the Drathan in. The halls of the Drathan Empire, Lord Carvos raged. His once mighty fleet was gone. His allies were broken. His name, once feared, was now whispered with pity. His advisors begged caution. The humans have proved too dangerous. We must not fight them again. But Carvos was stubborn. No, I will not yield. They are young, yes, but youth is their weakness. We will wait, rebuild, and one day we will crush them. Yet deep inside he knew the truth. Every attempt to destroy humanity had failed. Their spirit was unbreakable. Even he in his pride could no longer deny it. Humanity expands. In the months that followed, humanity did not rest. With the galaxy's eyes upon them, they expanded with speed and focus. Colonies grew stronger, fortified and self-sufficient. Trade routes opened with species once too proud to speak with humans. Engineers blended alien and human designs, creating weapons and ships unlike any seen before. The greatest of these projects was the Aegis Fleet, a new generation of warships. Built not just to defend, but to carry humanity's flag into uncharted space. Ambassador Hale stood beside engineers as they revealed the first of the fleet. The ship's name was simple, powerful, Unity. Hale smiled. This is what they will remember. Not just our battles, but our will to build, to unite, to rise. The final council debate one cycle later, the Galactic Council gathered again. The question before them was clear: how to treat humanity now. Some envoys urged caution. They are dangerous. We must contain them. Others urged alliance. They are strong, better as friends than enemies. At last, Zareth asked Ambassador Hale to speak again. Hale's words were steady, filled with quiet strength. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek to dominate. We seek respect. We seek peace. But if threatened, we will fight, and you know how we fight. Choose wisely. You may stand with us or you may stand against us. The chamber fell silent. Then one by one, envoys began to speak. Not with mockery, not with arrogance, but with respect. Humanity was no longer ignored. Humanity had earned its place. A new dawn on Earth, in the heart of Geneva, a monument was raised. A tall spire reaching for the sky, carved with the names of those who had fallen at Sigma Prime. At its base, words were written. They thought us weak. They thought us prey, but we endured. We are human, and we rise. Children read those words with pride. Colonists carried them into the stars. Soldiers swore oaths upon them. The galaxy remembered them. General Cole stood at the monument silent, remembering the faces of those he had lost. Beside him, Governor Cade placed her hand on the stone. We have only begun, she said softly. Yes, Cole answered. Only begun. Humanity's place among the stars years later, historians would look back at the Battle of Sigma Prime not just as a victory, but as a turning point for the entire galaxy. It was the day laughter turned to silence. The day mockery became fear. The day humanity stepped from the shadows into the light. The Galactic Council had warned the empires. They did not listen. And so they learned the hard way, for humanity had risen, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as survivors, builders, warriors, and dreamers, and the stars would never be the same. Closing words. The galaxy learned a lesson carved in fire and blood. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not prey. Humanity endures. Humanity adapts. Humanity rises. The Council had spoken the truth from the beginning, but the others had not listened. Now no one could ignore it.